What's up, sports bettors? Alex here, and I have a ton of player props for today. So I know I've already given out a ton of picks on Underdog Fantasy. Hopefully, you guys were able to tail some of them. We're getting great value, as you can see, to the closing line on certain plays like Ryan Tannehill. We got him over 187.5 passing yards on Underdog Fantasy. You can see it here, and you can see it here. We were all over that play from a video earlier in the week. Now you can see his passing yards line is at 213.5, right? So we got a ton of improvement. We got over 187.5. Now the line's at 213.5. So I say this all the time, but this is why, as a sports bettor, you want to always be looking for good bets. You want to always be looking for value. If you're just looking 5 minutes before game time, you're not going to find plays like Ryan Tannehill over 187.5 passing yards, which we found earlier in the week. And you can see if we go to Tannehill, we can take a quick look. All the sports books are setting his line, around 210.5. We were able to get over 187.5. So there are a lot of ways to skin the cat. Look for value on Underdog Fantasy and Prize Picks. One strategy I like is just kind of like, pulling up the screen and very quickly just kind of scanning through and looking for these spots where, hey, you can see here, Geno Smith, his line on Prize Picks is over under 250.5, right? Underdog has it 260.5. So there you have a 10-yard gap. Here's another one, Derek Carr, 244.5 on Prize Picks. Every sportsbook has it 255.5, 250.5. So as a sharp bettor, we're always looking for value. We're always looking for enough value to beat the vig, beat the juice. So we've gone through this a bunch of times, but the way this platform works, this Underdog Fantasy platform works, is any three picks you select, which you'll notice, right here, any three picks you select, you're always getting the same payout. 1 to win 6, right? Doesn't matter if you take overs, unders, doesn't matter if we switch out this pick for another one, you're betting 1 to win 6, right? So any three pick entry, you're getting the same payout. So the implied odds are minus 122, which we've also discussed, right? We've gone through the math a ton of times. I've explained it, in a couple articles. I've explained it a bit on Twitter, where I'll be giving out some plays in real time as well. So, you need to internalize the fact that Underdog Fantasy, when you're playing on it, you're basically just getting minus 122 juice on the over and the under. They're not varying your payout depending on if you select the over or the under. So what you want to do is ideally use OddsJam to find line inefficiencies where you're getting value at minus 122. So here's an example of the first play I ended up going with. Mooney, under 4.5 receptions. We can get this on Underdog Fantasy. We locked it in. What you're going to notice is every sportsbook, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. These columns are just the same, right? The OddsJam column is just the Pinnacle column. So there are 4 sports books all pricing this from minus 162 to minus 206. Pinnacle, the sharpest sports book in the world, they're not even letting you lay minus 200. This is over a 2-to-1 favorite, right? If you're betting on the under. So the under is heavily favored. Sports books are markets. They imply win probabilities through their odds. So if the under is minus 200, it's because the under is 2-to-1 to hit, right? Sportsbooks imply win probabilities through their odds. If a UFC fighter is minus 900, he's a 9-to-1 favorite. He's a 90% favorite to win the fight. So essentially, we want to look for these soft spots on Underdog where, we're getting ridiculous value and able to get minus 122 implied odds when the sportsbooks are saying either the under or the over should be a heavy favorite. So this play on Mooney is ridiculous, right? Because you have Pinnacle, the sharpest bookmaker in the world, pricing this at minus 206, and then you have 3 other data points, all also kind of confirming. Granted, they're a little less bullish on the under than Pinnacle is, but they're all confirming the same thing, that the under should be heavily favored, right? Clearly getting enough value to beat the vig, beat the juice. And I say this all the time, but you got to take, out of sports betting, the sports. It's not about the sports. It's about the market, the value, right? There are tens of millions of people betting on the NFL this weekend. These sportsbooks are super sharp and sophisticated. If you watch highlights of Mooney last week and you decide you're taking his over on Underdog Fantasy, first of all, you're getting the worst price ever. You are getting ripped off, right? If you're an investor, if you're a trader, if you're a whatever, and you're getting ripped off constantly, a real estate broker, you think you're going to make money? No. The way you make money sports betting is by finding value, right? If you're getting ripped off by the sports books and placing bets at minus 122 when other bookies are pricing this plus 153, you're getting screwed. You're going to go broke sports betting, right? It's all about finding value in the lines. The second thing is like these sports books are super sophisticated, you know? They all set lines independently. They all have invested hundreds of millions of dollars into their trading technology. Why are you smarter than them, right? If you're just betting blindly on the over, why are you smarter than all these sports books that are betting markets, taking bets from millions of people? Why are you smarter? You're not, right? So you follow the market and you look for these soft spots, these spots with value. And that's the first play I ended up locking in. And I say this all the time, but like I ride everything. You know, I say winning streaks, losing streaks, I ride with you guys. I don't say that I win every bet every day. I know I have an edge. I know I win in the long run, but it's not about winning every bet. You know, it's not about winning every bet. So, you know, I got a lot of plays open today. We have under 24.5 in Ravens Jags. We have Bengal, or that's just a free bet. We have the Titans money line plus 127. We have Tennessee Tech plus 12.5. We have the Raiders plus 5. We have, you know, over 42.5 in the Saints game. So I ride with you guys on all these plays, and you know, it's just about understand. You gotta, you know, take 10 minutes to invest in your education, kind of understand how these sports books work. There's so many people who just bet on Underdog Fantasy before they even understand how the freaking platform works. It's crazy to me, right? You want to reverse engineer, figure out how their odds work, how their payouts work before you dive in. Anyways, what else did I go with? Here you can see Cole Kmet under 3.5 receptions. It's the same strategy. What's really beautiful is once you realize sports betting is all about finding value enough to beat the vig, beat the juice, accepting that there will be variance, you know, it becomes very simple. You're just looking for value. You're like an investor. You're like a day trader, hunting through, you know, the millions of odds across sports books, looking for value. It's not like most of these plays on Underdog are profitable. Most of them are not. Most of these are very unprofitable, right? They have a leg up. They're charging juice, minus 122 juice. So what you want to do, you know, is essentially scan through the market and look for those spots where they're screwing up and you're getting value. Here we can see CMC over 4.5 receptions. Every sportsbook has it juiced heavily towards the over. Frickin' Bovada has this minus 180. Bet Online, minus 167. Pinnacle, minus 162. You can get this on Prize Picks or Underdog, right? And then you have T. Higgins, under 6.5 receptions. So I locked in a bunch of plays. I don't even know if I'm going to remember all of them, but we can keep going through. So we have Mooney. What else? And the market's constantly moving too. That's another thing we talk about. So I'm just filtering for Prize Picks and Underdog. But you got to be on top of it. Anyways, you can essentially consider this to be a 3-leg parlay. So like the first, you know, one I locked in, which I guess is right here. I think that one I gave out on Twitter. But right here, you can see T. Higgins under 6.5 receptions, Cole Kmet under 3.5, Christian McCaffrey over 4.5. You don't need to know anything about football, right? It's all about the data. It's all about the market, right? So the profit margin on this, just taking the fair odds, the no vig odds, right? So you take these no vig odds and you convert them into win probabilities, is what you're going to notice is, okay, so let's go to a odds converter calculator. So this Cole Kmet play, right? Ridiculous value on the under. The no vig line, the line with the vig removed, is minus 133.35, right? Minus 133 or 0.55. So the win probability for this play is 57.18%, right? Which you can see right here. So you do that for all three of these plays, and then all of these are uncorrelated outcomes or bets, right? They're literally different games. None of these bets are correlated. T. Higgins going under or over has no correlation to Christian McCaffrey going over or under. So you take the win probabilities for all three of your plays, you multiply them together, you get the win probability for your parlay. So this would be my underdog entry, right? My underdog entry will win if all three of these hit. So here's the individual win probabilities for each leg. Again, just taking this no vig odds and converting it into a probability, right? And this isn't that complicated. Like a lot of people are like, oh, too much math. And you don't have to understand the math. It's just place the bet in bold with a circle around it. Like using OddsJam is pretty simple. Find 3 plays on underdog and parlay them together, put them together and hit it. It's really that simple. 1, 2, 3. That's what you could go with. But if you want to know the math, it's like, okay, we know sportsbooks think the under should be favored, but how much so, right? So I said it before, like if someone's minus 200 favorite, they're a 2-to-1 favorite. Minus 300, if a sportsbook's giving you minus 300 on a fighter, they're a 3-to-1 favorite, 75%. So what you can do is you can take the line without juice. So this is just the line with the juice removed and convert it into a probability. And that tells you the win probability for your bet, right? So once you have the win probability for each bet in your underdog entry, you multiply them together, you get the win probability for your entry. We're staking 750 at plus 500 odds, which is the odds of an underdog entry, and you get the profit margin, $71 in EV, $942 in profit margin. So I locked in that. I locked in this, right? So I also went ahead and took some Hopkins in there because all these players kind of have max bets. So I took some Hopkins in there. Again, just following the math. It's very simple. And then finally, I took this. Mooney under, Matt Collins under, and Conklin under. So you can see all these plays here. This play is an ARB to FanDuel, Pinnacle. Very simple, straightforward, following value. Let's make some money.